Okay, we're not yet. Okay. Okay, we are ready? Okay, welcome everybody to our meeting tonight of our City Council. And we're going to have call to order by our City Clerk, Marcy Killian. She's going to do a roll call.
The record will reflect that all members are present.
Tonight we're going to welcome I went off and on, didn't I? Okay. Elisa Davey, founder of the Garden of Innocence National. And she's going to lead us on the Pledge of Allegiance. And if you'll remain standing for the invocation, please.
Over your heart, please think about each word you are saying and be proud to follow us in the Pledge of Allegiance to our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lord, give us a quiet mind and teach us to trust in Thee, knowing all things are in Thy hands. Guide us in our decision-making and lead us to the right path that is beneficial to our community. Teach us that our citizens are worth fighting for in all adversities and that they have placed us here as the guardians of our city, not because of the talents we have shown them, but by the degree of trust they have bestowed upon us in doing right by the people of Vista. Bless this town and all who linger here. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Okay, in accordance with the Brown Act, I'd like to announce that as a result of convening simultaneous meetings, the members of the Buena Sanitation District will receive compensation of $147.75 for the district meeting pursuant to the Buena Sanitation District Ordinance 2006-1. The next thing is the approval of the agenda by our City Manager, Patrick Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have one change to the agenda. This is on item number C3, which is the sewer capacity fee charges. And this relates to Exhibit 2, page 407, which is the Buena Sanitation District resolution. And in item 2A, the amount is not correct for the equivalent dwelling unit charge. It states it's $4,233. It should state that it's $4,291. So the $4,291 is the correction to that page on page 407. Thank you.
Okay, and we did not have a closed session today. Nothing was held. And so the next thing on our agenda are our presentations. And I'd like to have the council join me. We're going to do a proclamation recognizing Robbie Bush, recipient of the 2013 Mayor's Excellence in Service Award, and then another proclamation. So I'm going to have them come down with both of those. Okay. Come forward, Robbie. I have your proclamation here. We'll open it because it's nice. We'll show you so you can show it. I should have, wait a minute, let me put this down. We'll do this because it's very pretty, actually. And I'm going to read this. Whereas Robbie Bush was recently recognized as a recipient of the City of Vista 2013 Mayor's Excellence in Service Award. Robbie was hired in May 1998 and currently serves the City of Vista as Senior Development Services Technician in the Community Development Department. Robbie has consistently provided top-notch assistance to both the public and city staff as a lead technician in the Development Services Division. Even with the uptick in development activity here in Vista, she has remained on top of her game and regularly exceeds the expectations of everyone she comes in contact with. And whereas Robbie does everything in her power to make others' jobs easier, she is patient and attentive with citizens, applicants, and with developers' needs. If she does not have all the answers, she knows where to get them. Above all, Robbie does everything with a smile. And whereas Robbie is a joy to work with, Robbie is a joy to work with and makes every day around the city pleasant. Based on the excellent service she provides to everyone she comes in contact with and her extraordinary attitude while doing this, Robbie is a great choice for the Mayor's Excellence in Service Awards. So now, therefore, the Mayor and the members of the Vista City Council do hereby proclaim Wednesday, March 26, 2014, that will be tomorrow, as Robbie Bush Day in the city of Vista. So congratulations, Robbie. She wants to know if we all get the day off tomorrow. We have one more proclamation here. And who's going to take this? Nanette? Yeah, okay. Okay. And here's yours. This way, so it's all that. Okay, and then I'll read this. This is, whereas March is Prescription Drug Abuse Awareness Month throughout California. A 2011 study showed that 22.5 million Americans aged 12 or older had used an illicit drug or abused a prescription drug in the past month. Whereas in 2010, drug overdoses in the United States caused 38,329 deaths, and 22,134 of those were from prescription drugs. Among people aged 25 to 64, there were more deaths caused by drug overdoses than traffic accidents. And whereas in 2010, San Diego County hospitals had 3,278 emergency room visits related to misuse or abuse of pharmaceuticals. So, wait, is there another page to that? No, okay, so then I guess that's all. And this says, now therefore the Mayor and the members of the City Council do hereby proclaim the month of March 2014 as Prescription Drug Abuse Awareness Month. So congratulations on that. Did you want to say a couple words, maybe?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. I'm here on behalf of the North Coastal Prevention Coalition and Vista Community Clinic, as well as the Hope Foundation. And we just want to make sure that people are aware of the dangers with prescription drug abuse, and that we're thankful to the city for all it's done, including the Sheriff's Department having a drop-off box in the sheriff stations where you can go and drop off unused prescription drugs that you no longer are using. And then we also have take-back days. The next one is April 26th. And at the Walgreens on Sycamore and Vista, as well as Tri-City Medical Center, they'll have be available to take any unused prescription drugs. So thanks again to the City of Vista for recognizing this important issue.
We have one other presentation, Monica Manuel, Del Mar Fairgrounds Marketing Department, regarding the 2014 San Diego County Fair, which is coming up this summer. Yes, it will. Why don't you turn your mic around? I had flipped it around, so turn it around your way. Yeah, that's good. Okay.
Thank you for having me out today. I would just like to extend the City of Vista an invitation to the 2014 San Diego County Fair. Our fair will be the Fab Fair this year. The theme is based around the Beatles and Beatlemania and the British invasion that happened nearly 50 years ago. So here comes the fun. The fair starts June 7th and will run through Sunday, July 6th. We are, however, closed on all Mondays and the first 2 Tuesdays. That's a little bit different, as well as the extended date past July 4th. We are selling at Albertsons the best pass ever. It is only $24 for 24 days of fun. That's only $1 a day. And the best pass ever is also available online at www.sdfair.com. The Toyota Summer Concert Series on the Heineken Grandstand stage is almost complete. We've got 5 more spots to fill, but some of the interesting acts coming in are Darius Rucker, Huey Lewis and the News, REO Speedwagon, country music, Hunter Hughes, legendary Smokey Robinson, and on June 26th, we're having this fabulous Beatles tribute band. They are called the Fab Four. It's a big production number. They will be playing all Beatles hits. I suggest that concert for a lot of fun. We will have festivals. Once again, the Big Bite Bacon Festival is coming back. If you missed it, it was all about bacon and delicious. We have a beer festival, and our beer festival is featuring breweries from around the world. It is so big now, it has its own website. We've gotten a lot of respect. One of our local brewers has actually entered 8 entries. The judging will follow soon. Check out the new website, www.sandiegobeerfestival.com. But our British celebration will have a French influence with our annual wine festival, the Toast of the Coast. That's held in the beautiful Flower and Garden Show on June 14th. There will be 2 sessions, 1 souvenir glass, and unlimited sampling of all the wines. So we would like to invite you to those festivals and to check them out online. For our visiting families, we have expanded the infield. Be sure to check that out. It's now the Family Funville. So lots of fun things going on out there. Last summer, about 1.5 million guests visited the fair. And so if it's been see if you can get any Beatle references here. If it's been a hard day's night, just let it be and grab a ticket to ride and come on out to the San Diego County Fair. For more information, check our website. And we love you. Yeah. Thank you for your time. I was passing out vouchers. They're $3 vouchers. I would like to invite everyone here to come to the fair for $3. I will continue passing them out quietly if that's possible.
They put them on the table in the back, and then they can just pick them up.
Okay.
Would that be okay?
That would be great. And check us out. We will be at the Vista Strawberry Festival playing games, giving away concert tickets and fair tickets as well. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Okay. I think if my counsel doesn't mind, we'll move oral communications forward because we have a lot of them tonight. Would that be okay? Okay. We'll start out with Helen Rigby, Miss Vista.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Ritter and Honorable Council members and everyone else here tonight. Maggie and I just wanted to come and formally invite you to our 2014 Miss Vista and Miss Teen Vista pageants, which will be held on May 10th right across the street at Vista Magnet Middle School. So we just wanted to invite you, and we hope that you can come out. So thank you.
So you're finishing your year's reign, huh? Only 6 more weeks. Thank you. Okay. Our next speakers are, looks like we have Nonprofit Global Innovation Center. I have Lily Zhao. Is it Zhao?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Honorable City council members and everyone. Thank you so much, Amanda Lee, for having me here tonight. We all have a dream, and for our dream to come true, we need resources and we need help. So for our global, a bit nervous, our Global Innovation Center, We're looking for a home to host us where we have all the great minds to gather together to make great things happen. Last week, I invited Steve Wozniak to attend the Kyoto Prize Symposium. He came, he and his wife came, and we met the laureate is Dr. Denar. Every computer and device that we're using today, it's all because of him. And we can bring this great mind into Vista and put Vista in the world, on the map of the world, that we're not the Microsoft Vista, but we're the Vista US. So I'm looking for the home for our center, and we need your help. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speakers, I have I have 7 speakers for Popular University, Space for Classes, and so we'll start with Ana Cristina Rubio.
Hello.
Hi, and you have 3 minutes. Each of you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Ana Cristina Rubio. I am retired after working with Vista Unified School District for 18 years. Today I am here because having worked with family through education and family programs in the city of Vista, I have learned that many parents, especially immigrant parents, don't know how the United States educational system works. For this reason, University Popular has been helping families to get more involved in their family children education. During the last year, I have been involved with University Popular, helping to deliver classes and presentations focuses on civic education, history, education, and preparation for the university. Many schools within the Vista Unified School District have invited us to present important information for parents so that the students can be successful. We have become part of the triangle: parents, school, and community, working together to improve educational outcome and civic engagement in our community. We have been looking for places to meet, but we have learned that there are very few spaces in the community that is accessible and welcoming so families can more easily find information. We have been meeting at the library community room, but we don't fit there anymore with 2 growing groups of parents and students. We recently learned about the Morris V. Vance community room, but it's too expensive for us to rent. It will cost us $1,472 per month to meet here. This amount is too high for us. We are a volunteer group that is committed to working with the community, but do not have funding right now to rent a space from the city. I am requesting that you please help us find a meeting room and that you work with us to identify future space for families to have a centralized family resource center. We are more than happy to collaborate with the city and other organizations so that together we can offer the support and resources that are needed in the community.
Could you wrap up? Your 3 minutes
Yes.
are up.
We humbly thank you for your time and attention to our requests, and thank you for your passion during this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Freddie Alvarado. Dr. Freddie Alvarado.
Good evening, City Council, Mayor Ritter. We started today's meeting with a prayer to lend wisdom to the mayor and the city council. I appreciated the prayer, and I hope that my concerns and the concerns of others who support my cause will give you an opportunity to live up to the promise of that prayer. The Popular University is asking you to waive the exorbitant fee to use the community room because we are a community. We are a community riven by racial tensions. We are a community where often half the population does not feel that they have a voice in the public conversation. Today you have an opportunity to invite those individuals who are ready to become civically engaged. I understand that we need business. I understand that we need commerce. But I think too often the city council has privileged those interests over the interests of a larger community, particularly the interests of the Latino community. The sign on that building says community. Community. I ask that you do the right thing by making this room truly one for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Helix Cruz. Our next speaker is Helix Cruz. Did I say that right?
I'm going to assist with interpretation.
Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Helix Cruz y soy padre de 3 hijos, 2 niñas y un niño. La razón que he vivido por 30 años aquí en la comunidad de Vista. La razón que hemos venido aquí es que porque nos hemos dado cuenta de que no tenemos un centro comunitario para los padres y estudiantes. Y es muy necesario que tengamos ese centro porque lo necesitamos para darle información a los padres y a los estudiantes. Universidad Popular nos ofrece los servicios gratis. Ellos no nos cobran, son servicios gratis y así es la única manera que vamos a mandar más estudiantes a la universidad. En mi caso personal, 2 de mis hijas, una tiene 3 años en la universidad y la otra ya está lista, ya la admitió la Universidad de San Marcos y tuvo la oportunidad de que otra universidad la admitió. Y esa es la razón que estamos aquí, pues a ver si nos dan un lugar a donde estar con los padres y hijos para que le pasemos la información como me la pasaron a mí, ellos a mí, porque el salón que nos prestaba la biblioteca ya es muy chico, el grupo creció y hay un grupo de estudiantes y el otro de padres y no cabemos, entonces es la razón que estamos aquí y yo pienso que ustedes son las únicas personas que tienen la fuerza y que nos van a escuchar y que nos van a mirar la necesidad para que nos ayuden a ver cómo podemos trabajar. Nosotros, yo me comprometo con el programa Universidad Popular para trabajar juntos, en equipo, y yo pienso, si trabajamos juntos, salimos adelante, como siempre se ha dicho, la fuerza y la unión nos hace trabajar más fuerte. Y yo creo que ustedes tienen el corazón para que nos escuchen y abran el corazón y nos ayuden. Es todo. Gracias.
Gracias.
Good evening. My name is Cynthia Cruz. I am a Vista resident and I have 3 children. a son in elementary school, a daughter in high school, and another daughter attending Cal State San Marcos. I have been attending Universidad Popular for over a year and working with youth empowerment for the last 4 years to get my children to learn about the university. Today I am here because I realize that we need a central space that will serve as a family resource center. We urgently need this space because many families don't have a place to go to get information. Universidad Popular is a program that offers information, education for both parents and for students. We learn together, and I'm here because I believe that you have the power to begin to work with us to address our needs. We want to make sure that every family has the information they need. I am committed to working with you and with Universidad Popular to identify a space and to find ways to continue working with the community. I think you have the heart to help us and to understand what our needs are, and I hope that you will work with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Arcella Nunez Alvarez.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you in advance again for your patience. Thank you to Marcy for helping us take care of logistics to be here tonight. My name is Arcella Nunez Alvarez, and I am a founding member of the program that you are hearing about today. It is called Universidad Popular, or Popular People's University. I am a researcher, I am an educator, and I've been working in Vista and in communities throughout the state of California for over 10 years, working to bring about education and to raise awareness among communities that are often called hard-to-reach populations or immigrants, limited English-speaking families. I work with them because I wholeheartedly have believed and continue to believe, and hope that you will share that belief as well, that through education we will be able to make a difference in our communities. We founded Universidad Popular with the goal of increasing civic engagement. What you are seeing today is an exercise specifically in civic engagement that many of our students have been preparing for months, and some of them for a year, to be with you today. We are a program that is run by volunteers. We have supporters from Cal State San Marcos, from the local community colleges, from local nonprofits, from the San Diego County Library, from local churches, and all of us share the goal of seeing more access and improved educational outcomes. Most importantly, we believe in the importance of increasing democratic participation. We bring very good news today. We come here to let you know that Universidad Popular works, and you will have a chance to meet many of our amazing students, individuals who did not have the privilege of going to school. Many of them have never set a foot in a formal classroom anywhere in Latin America, yet have been taking courses on government, on U.S. history, civic participation, economic development, globalization, importance of technology, all to make sure that we improve our access and the educational opportunities for our kids. Our immediate request is to waive fees so that we may have access to more community space for our meetings. I've included an overview of our program for you that you have as a reference. But thank you again. It's a pleasure to introduce the community leaders who are with us today.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Helix Cruz. Did he? Oh, he did. Okay. Then our next speaker is Margarita, is it Mortes? No, he's in there twice. He's in there twice.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Margarita Montes, vivo aquí en Vista, tengo 6 años viviendo aquí y para nosotros es muy importante estar en la Universidad Popular y también el centro comunitario para nuestros hijos. Tengo 2 hijas.
It's okay.
Tengo 2 hijas, una ocupa ayuda especial y la otra está bien, pero para que puedan ayudar con las tareas y lo demás, para también no, para que más bien puedan ayudar con las tareas a ellas y nosotros poder estar también ahí con nuestros hijos, ocupamos el centro comunitario.
Good evening. My name is Margarita Montes. I am a Vista resident. I've lived here for 6 years. I have 2 daughters. One of my daughters is a special ed student, so she requires a lot of attention, especially in school. I attend Universidad Popular because it helps my children to do homework and to stay in school. I think there's more need to have information available for parents so that they can help their children. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Margarita. Cynthia Perez.
Good evening.
Hi.
My name is Cynthia Perez. I have grown up in Vista, and I am currently a student at Cal State San Marcos, and I will be graduating of May this year.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. I'm here today to share with everyone my experience as a youth from Vista, and also as someone who has been actively involved in Universidad Popular in the last 6 months. Growing up, I never knew of any programs outside of school that provided additional support for either my parents or myself. As a college student, I've had the opportunity to learn a lot about the community I come from through my involvement at the National Latino Research Center and being part of Universidad Popular. The fact that the educational opportunities to a great part of our community are not accessible and proven to be insufficient have led to this initiative to provide that much-needed support through our own means. As part of Universidad Popular, we have actively worked to provide parents as well as youth with the classes that are beneficial and also to address their immediate needs and concerns about education as well as civic engagement. We went from providing child care for parents and classes to a youth component of Universidad Popular that now serves well over 20 youth from not only Vista, but neighboring communities as well, with classes including history, art, mentoring, college guidance, and cultural identity. And it keeps growing as youth bring in their friends and their siblings because they see how fun the classes are, how educational they are, and how much they're helping them. And also a safe space that it provides for them that is so necessary for them to continue on with their education. Knowing that a free program like this exists in Vista has led me to put my own energy and commitment to continuing the work to have spaces like this in my own community. All of us volunteer and work for Universidad Popular do it without pay, and with the great reward of knowing that both parents and students are becoming engaged and becoming leaders of their own education. Seeing youth so involved and leading these classes makes me hopeful, since I know that we are planting seeds of a great future ahead of us. Our youth will lead us forward, and Universidad Popular is a space that I'm sure we will need in Vista for a very long time. As of right now, we don't have the economic support to pay to rent a space big enough to fit our immediate needs. But I know that together, with our efforts, we will be able to work towards building our center soon. Right now, I want to request on behalf of myself and my peers from Universidad Popular that the rent fees for the Morris V. Vance Community Room be waived so we can accommodate our growing community group and continue to help all our students, youth, and parents. Thank you.
Thank you. That's our last speaker for Universidad Popular. And so the next speaker that we have is regarding arson and public safety. It's Ruby Lopez. Ruby.
Hello, Mayor and City Council. This weekend on Saturday night, there was an incident of arson in the city, and there were four or five cars that were burned. We can call it vandalism, we can call it terrorism, we can call it many things, but that happened Saturday night. One of the cars that was burned is still at the location where it was burned, so it smells, there's a stench, there's a toxic situation. I called the sheriff department, and they said that Sunday morning the bomb squad, the arson bomb unit went over, and they did their investigation, but they didn't put any precaution tape or security tape around it. They did their thing and they just left it, which I don't think that's the way to go about it. The fire department was also there. They put out the fire, but they also put out the fire and they just left it there. So there's a burnt car with a battery that has acid. There's fumes in the area, and it's also a really bad image for the city. I understand that there's different reasons why the fire department won't do it, or why the sheriff won't do it, or why the city won't do it, but somebody needs to do it. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. That actually concludes all of our speakers, our public speakers right now. So the next thing on our agenda is our consent calendar. The recommendations on the following consent calendar will be enacted in one motion unless an item is removed from the calendar. Any member of the public may remove an item by submitting a request to speak card to the clerk's secretary. Items removed from the consent calendar will be considered immediately following the adoption of the calendar. So with that, we're going to go to the consent calendar, and those are items C1 through C4.
Madam Mayor, I would like to pull C3.
Okay. I don't have anything pulled from the public, so if that's the only one, any other ones pulled? If not, I would entertain a motion for the balance of the consent calendar.
I'll make a motion to approve the balance of the consent.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. A motion, and please cast your votes. Would you like a report on C3?
Yes, please.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Before you tonight is a staff report to adopt 2 resolutions to memorialize the fiscal year 14-15 sewer capacity fees for the City Sewer Fund and the Buena Sanitation District. These sewer capacity fees were established at their current levels by ordinances set or adopted by both the City and the Buena Sanitation District in 2006. Those ordinances call for the capacity fees to be adjusted every year by a cost index, that's the Engineering News Report cost index, using the City of Los Angeles. That particular publication publishes 20 different cost indexes nationwide for large cities, and Los Angeles is the closest one to us. The other one in California, San Francisco. So at the time it was selected to use that particular cost index. So the change in the cost index from March 1st of 2013 to March 1st, 2014 was 4.4%, and therefore that is by the ordinance what the scheduled increase is for. The ordinance itself calls for the increase, and the resolutions are presented just to memorialize and document. So if someone comes to the counter at the permit center, we actually have a document we can hand them instead of, you know, a tablet of paper where someone calculated out what the increase has been every year since it was originally set in 2006. That concludes my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so I've just thought, so on this it says here, so whether or not it says the sewer capacity charge shall be automatically adjusted on an annual basis. So whether or not we would vote for this, it would be automatically anyway.
If I did not do this staff report on July 1st, this change would go into effect anyway.
And these are new connections only, I understand, right?
That is correct.
One-time fees. And in 2013-14, there was 0% increase.
Yeah, there has been a couple years over the last few years where there was no increase, simply as we all know, a lot of the cost indexes, inflation index, and so far been very low.
Okay, and it looks like this year's $178 to $181 are the increases in the one-time fees on these new connections. So
that is correct.
Okay, okay, Councilmember Rigby.
Thank you, and thank you for coming in and talking to me about this. We've talked before about this, but I just wanted to have the discussion. And as you know, one of my concerns was the cost index that we use to base our race on, being from the Los Angeles area. And San Diego is the 8th largest city in the nation, as we've all learned recently with events in San Diego. And every list I could pull up to research showed the same thing, with Los Angeles being the 2nd and San Francisco being number 14. So I'm hoping that with San Diego being 8, it's going to balance out in there somewhere as an average. But I would like to know what you're using. The ENR, the Engineering News Record, is a publication coming out weekly, and each week of the month they highlight the costs of different supplies in the construction and building industry. Is that correct?
Well, to be honest with you, not being an engineer, I don't.
Okay.
I look at that publication one time a year.
One time
and
a
it's
year,
to get
okay.
The cost information as of March 1st for LA.
Well, it is a publication put out in the industry, and it's published by McGraw-Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Is there no other index to look at, or any other anything to look at that shows a little bit more closely what the actual costs in our region might be versus looking at what Los Angeles might be doing?
I'm not aware of anything, but once again, not really working in the field of engineering and sewer construction. Keep in mind, I believe in the not too distant future, we're going to be doing another look at the capacity.
Yes, that was going to be my next point.
And at that point, I mean, we're, as the council or as the city, we are free to choose whatever index we want to choose.
Right.
I might jump in here and just say that in the past, prior to this, 10 years ago, for a period of time, we were using the Consumer Price Index. Mm-hmm. However, that's typically for goods and services, and this is the best known measurement for the construction side of the field that we have.
Okay. And thank you for that. My other point was that we are going to be doing a cost analysis ourselves in 2015. Is that correct?
That is correct. In next year's budget, we're going to have that in there to hire a consultant to do a cost estimate for what we think it should be at this point in time. Like Mr. Nielsen said, 10 years ago we did the study. Approximately 4 years ago we evaluated it and didn't feel there was a need to do another study at that time. However, with the uptick in development, we want to have the study done to see what the effects have been on the community, or the sewer system in the community, I should say.
Once that study is done in 2015, is that result something that we could base our rates on at that time instead of continuing to look at Los Angeles rates?
I would
not,
say
what's the
yes.
point of the study?
I would imagine we will be using a consultant for that study, and we can also ask our own engineering team that there may be a more localized cost index that could be appropriate to use.
We can take a look at that. The consultant will recommend a rate, which will come before the city council for approval.
Right.
If it is approved, we'll also take a look at what the best measurement is to use, as well as what other cities are using or sewer agencies are using for their construction index.
Okay. Now, we have a lot of new construction coming up here on Melrose and Santa Fe, et cetera. So we are going to be knowing pretty closely what our costs for this actually might be. Is anybody calculating that or keeping track of that we know of? And I know that's not your purview, but do we have somebody that is keeping track of the actual costs that we might be incurring at this point with the new developments going in?
Yeah, we look at that, and part of this is what we pay to Encina for capacity for our use. And so as we bring on new users, whether it be single-family, multifamily, or a commercial structure that comes on board that needs sewer capacity, that has an effect later on what our ultimate capacity is at Encina. And so that's taken into consideration as we do the study.
Okay. Well, I guess that addressed all of my questions, not answered all of my questions. My issue is I don't really think that as the 8th largest city in the nation, we should be looking at another region and what they're doing to base what we're experiencing on that. I think there's an ample opportunity to look at what we're doing here to calculate rates for our residents here in Vista. I don't think we should be going out. I did try to go on the ENR website, but I'm not a member, so they wouldn't let me on, because I wanted to calculate what is San Francisco's rate, what is Los Angeles's rate, versus other cities that have, number 9 and number 10, or number 7 and number 9. So thank you. I appreciate your time in answering my questions.
And I think part of it, comparing to Los Angeles, I think part of it is what our sewer charges, what Encina is, the charges for local. I think that has to do with the rates also, rather than just basing it on another city. But I think
that's why I'm looking to see, especially with all the new construction we have going on, and we're very excited for that because we haven't had a lot of new construction recently. But it seems that we have activity happening here in Vista that we can calculate our own rates on by what it's actually costing us, and it should be costing our residents. So I don't think we need to look up to Los Angeles for this.
Councilmember Aguilera, followed by Councilmember Coles, or Deputy Mayor Aguilera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess I'm not that familiar with how this works, but what exactly is this capacity charge covering?
What a capacity charge, or sometimes they're referred to as connection fees, is when somebody, let's say you're new construction or you're on septic and you want to connect to the sewer system. What you're paying for with the capacity fee is the impact of your additional burden on the sewer system. And then you pay an annual sewer fee to utilize the system. It's much like, I kind of think of, the capacity fee is kind of like buying a camera, and then the annual sewer charge is buying the film every time you want to use the camera.
So am I correct in assuming that down the road, as this money is collected, we're storing it, saving it up?
Yes.
And going to use that to potentially upgrade our system or construction?
The capacity fees can only be used to make improvements that enhance the capacity of the system. So if you pull an old 8-inch sewer line out of the ground and replace it with a new 8-inch line, you shouldn't be using capacity fees for that. But if you're putting in a brand new sewer line or taking out an 8-inch line and putting in a 12-inch line, then you can use the capacity fees.
So the reason I brought up that question is because, I'm glad you brought this up so we could discuss it. But some of the companies that bid on our construction for sewer aren't necessarily from the San Diego area, are they?
I would imagine on large construction contracts, they're from all over.
So I think that, it would seem like it would still make sense it would be okay to use something from Los Angeles because we're going to probably be bidding this out. I think we've had bids from all across the nation at times for some of our sewer projects. Is that not true?
I do not know the answer.
That's correct. For the complexity of the projects, we've had people from out of state bid on our projects.
So, really, it is kind of a nationwide reach that we're doing, so I think we probably should consider that whenever we do make that decision down the road. Obviously, we don't really have a decision to make on this tonight, but down the road, I think that's something that should be considered, that it is going to be companies from outside our region that are probably going to be bidding on these projects.
And from a staff perspective, like I mentioned earlier, we just don't have another index to compare it to that we use, whether it's in the sewer engineering side of it or whether it's in the capital improvement program.
Okay. I guess want to just put my 2 cents in. Thank you.
Councilmember Coles.
That's part of what I was going to ask about. The capacity fee is not the actual connection, the putting in the pipe and the fittings and bolting the pipes up to the sewer system. This is simply the increased or additional capacity of flow into the Buena Sanitation District.
That's correct. It's a result of development.
And the costs really, are these things that the city does or the Buena Sanitation District does? I mean,
These are things that both the city and Buena do
Okay.
in the respective districts. But you're correct in that as development occurs, as areas grow, an 8-inch line is no longer adequate to carry the effluent, so we need to go to a 12-inch line, let's say. And so that is going to be a capacity charge would be used to replace those lines and upsize them.
Right. And the mayor and I serve on the Buena Sanitation District, and we know we're talking regularly about the future need to increase the capacity at that plant. I mean, there's property set aside for expansion as population growth occurs in our area. So this is part of the money that goes toward that capacity increase at the plant as well?
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. So I appreciate the questions about using the right index, because we don't want to undershoot it either. I mean, we don't want to be too low and then have costs that that outstrip the fund that we've built up to take care of that capacity. So thank you.
Councilmember Rigby.
Thank you. I just wanted to go back and reiterate that even though, as Deputy Mayor Aguilera alluded to, there might be contractors from out of the area that would bid on these projects, but I sure hope that when they bid on a project in Vista, they're going to hire local people and buy materials locally. I'm hoping that they're not trucking in from LA or Riverside or wherever they're from to do the work. So I'm still seeing no real reason to look at Los Angeles for pricing. We're a big enough town, we're a big enough city, we're a big enough region that we should be able to know what our own costs are for this, whether we've undershot or we overshoot. I'm just concerned that we should be able to find some index out there that's not from Los Angeles. That's my point. I just want to know, and we have enough here that we can decide what our own rates should be. So that's my point.
Just to sum up that, as we go through the process, whether it's this summer or in the fall, we'll take a look at what our options are, and we'll bring those back for you for review.
Thank you. And thank you. I appreciate your time.
Certainly.
So for today, for this, do we want to vote on this then? I mean, if we're just memorializing it, or if it's doing it anyway, do we need to vote on it, or do we?
Well, it's a consent item,
Yeah.
but we need to make a motion. I'd make a motion to approve the item.
And I'll second it.
Okay. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. That motion passes with one abstention, or not, one no vote. Okay, so moving on our next item on our agenda is a discussion item, and it is the live entertainment permitting process is our first discussion item. And so are you going to, Allie, our Assistant City Manager, Allie Zimmerman, our Assistant City Manager, is going to take that, and John Conley, it looks like.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. The item before you is a proposal to overhaul the permitting process for live entertainment. We currently know it as the cabaret process here in Vista. Put pretty simply, any business that wants to hold live entertainment must obtain a cabaret permit from the city. However, the name cabaret evokes kind of a bygone era, and as we started taking a look at our code, we realized that the code is as outdated as the name of the process. So last fall, you directed staff to review the cabaret process and return to you with an update. And while our administrative procedures that we use to process applications works very well, when we reviewed the ordinance, we found it's extremely out of date. It contains duplicative and confusing language, and it contains provisions that are difficult to enforce. So we started looking at how live entertainment is regulated in our neighboring jurisdictions, and based on a review of their ordinances, we are recommending that the City Council approve an overhaul to the municipal code. Many things about our permitting process will remain the same, including the requirement for a criminal background check for the applicant, and the annual renewal procedure, and the permit fees. And there are four main differences, however, that I'd like to briefly mention. They are as follows. Number one, we're proposing to remove all references to cabaret and rename the current license as an entertainment permit. Because as you know, when we talk about cabaret, people think of dark, small, smoky nightclub, and Liza Minnelli's going to be there, and it's a cabaret act. And that's just simply not the case. In reality, it's 1 or 2 person acts, it's karaoke, it's mariachi in our restaurants, bars, and breweries. And so we want to kind of reflect what the current practice is, and it's not cabaret. The second item is to change the license classes. Currently, we have classes A through D. We're going to change it to permit types 1 through 3. The main basis for how a permit would be evaluated, or permit application would be evaluated, is based on whether or not the applicant holds an ABC license. And then from there, if they are asking for amplification, if they're asking for dancing, what we'll do is place them in the appropriate category and issue a permit that has conditions, mitigating conditions based on what they're asking for, the location of the business, and any other related factors. Our current cabaret license holders would be transitioned to the most similar live entertainment permit category when their cabaret licenses come up for renewal in June. The third main change is we're proposing to make the permit approval administrative. So, and under the current ordinance, all cabaret applications come before the City Council for approval. You approved 3 on the consent calendar tonight. But because the City Council is our highest level of approval, that means there's no opportunity for an appeal if the applicant does not like the ruling of the approving body. When we reviewed other cities' ordinances, we came to the conclusion that we're the only city in San Diego County where City Council makes that approval initially. So the staff recommendation would be to have the permit approval be done by the city manager or designee, and then that way, if there is any type of appeal required, it can come before the City Council. The current process where they complete an application, go through a background check, and agree with staff to a set of conditions would still be applicable. But by making the initial approval at the staff level, it will actually speed up the process for our businesses who are making these applications, because we don't have to deal with scheduling a council meeting. And then the fourth item, main change, would be that our proposal is to recommend exempting the live entertainment permit holders from the noise ordinance. During our initial review, we realized that cabaret licenses are often in conflict with the noise ordinance. And after research and discussion, we propose to exempt live entertainment permit holders from the provisions of the noise ordinance. But this doesn't mean that a permit holder can have entertainment going on all day and night, as much as they want. But what we're proposing is that we would apply conditions to each license to control, or to each permit, to control the noise. Depending on the location of the business, the type of entertainment they are requesting, staff would place mitigating conditions on the permit that would be unique to their needs and our needs. This could include limits on the number of days per week where entertainment could be held, hours per day, requiring businesses who maybe have application to keep their doors and windows shut, and then in some cases, if necessary, even further in requiring types of soundproofing or to keep the noise inside. We would also be requiring applicants to provide written acknowledgement from the adjacent property owners that they are planning to hold entertainment of the certain type they are, so that we can make sure that everyone around them is aware that it's going to be happening. Noise is a very sensitive issue, and what we found is that it's difficult to uniformly address noise complaints because noise is intermittent. What bothers one person may not bother another person. So our intent in conditioning the permit based on time of day and other kind of clear conditions is that it'll make it easier for code enforcement, law enforcement staff to enforce the provisions of a cabaret license in a clear-cut manner, rather than having to kind of go back and forth on whether or not the noise is as loud as someone says it is. So that's why we're recommending that change. And although the entire code section is being changed, those are the 4 main changes. The rest are just updating outdated provisions of law. If the City Council approves the staff recommendation, the ordinance will go into effect in 30 days. And for those existing cabaret licenses, which do all expire in June, they are on an annual renewal plan. We will transition them into the new entertainment permit at that time. This concludes my presentation. Mr. Conley and I are available to answer any questions.
Okay. Do I have Councilmember Rigby?
Thank you. Just a couple of quick questions. The current cabaret license as like the ones that we approved this evening on the consent calendar, had a time frame, because those were in the business park, except 50 barrels, for like Thursday and Friday from 3 p.m. on. Will they still have those restrictions? Because, and I know that we've already agreed that we would notify property owners, and I know that these 3 businesses notified also the tenants, not just the owners of the property, but the tenants, and got their approval. Is that still going to be the case? I'm worried about, especially in the business park, if we're taking away the time limitation as it was printed on there, we might run into trouble there.
The staff's intent would be to print the time that is agreed upon between the applicant and the city on the new live entertainment permit. So that would remain in effect. Obviously, depending on what the business requests, the time may be different, but what we would ask an applicant to do is, once we've agreed on what we could approve for the permit, would have them provide that information to, you're right, not just adjacent property owners, but also adjacent tenants, and say this is what we're intending to do, and make sure that they're aware of it.
Okay. Well, I know in looking at the applications from this evening, that they weren't asking just for what it was said that they could have, because there was the rule, and they were asking for Monday through Friday anyway. So I can see that that's going to be an issue, and if it's not written somewhere,
it will
then
be written. Yes,
it
will be written.
Okay. And the other question I had was, nope, it's gone. I guess that was it. Thank you.
Councilmember Campbell? I don't think you're on.
You mentioned the appeals process. In reading here, section 5.24.140, it says, in the event the city manager denies or revokes an entertainment permit. My question would be, currently the city council approves these as sort of the final approval or denial. What, in the case of an approval of the city manager, in case we get complaints from surrounding businesses or tenants that weren't originally consulted, is there an opportunity to have that initial approval be appealed to the council as well?
The way the ordinance is currently drafted, I don't believe that's in there. The appeal is based on at the time of revocation, or if the city the intent, I believe, would be if the applicant didn't agree with what the administrative permit, what we would approve, they could possibly make that appeal. But are you referring to someone else appealing it?
Exactly. So I'm referring to how approvals or denials go through.
It is written that they do have the right to appeal to the city council.
And that is the applicant, if they're revoked or denied. However, another party, tenant or property owner adjacent, would not have that same right with the way it's stated in the ordinance.
The current cabaret ordinance doesn't have that requirement either, or that allowance, and so that's not something that we added.
Right. So, but currently that comes before the council, where you can have public comment by those other third parties. So my concern is, transferring it to an administrative process solely, and only allowing the applicant, if it's denied or revoked, to appeal it to the council level, is kind of a one-sided approach to that. So I'd like to see that we allow for third-party appeals, just like we do with any other permitting process that goes before other commissions as well. Secondly, my concern is on page 13 of 25, subsection D of paragraph D, where we're exempting the entertainment license holder from section 8.32.010 of the Municipal Code, paragraph A, for noise restrictions on the prima facie violation section. That's a concern to me, because even though the goal of this, and I think it's a very good goal, is to have very clear set standards for businesses to operate under with the entertainment licenses, as listed on some examples on page 2 of 25, doors and windows are closed, limit the allowable hours of entertainment, etc. My concern is, we get a business that complies with those objective, clear guidelines, and yet still has problems with noise on adjacent properties, especially in the business park. You know, they turn up the volume within their allowable time frame. By exempting them from the noise ordinance, the prima facie violation section, we're removing a tool that can be used to bring in a business into compliance, even though they're in compliance with the objective outlines and goals of this ordinance. So I think an easy fix would be to not exempt them from off-site noise problems and add these additional conditions, just what we have here. So I think this new entertainment process is a great step in the right direction, but I want to see us to not remove a tool from the toolbox that allows us to make sure that we bring a business that's having egregious violations into compliance with off-site noise restrictions or off-site noise issues. The other thing I noticed is it says, when the entertainment satisfies all conditions for sound generation and sound attenuation imposed by section 5.24.100, but I think that's actually the renewal of the permit. 5.24.100 says renewals of permits. And that's on page 9 of 25. So I think it's trying to say operating standards, which is 0.110.
I believe that's correct.
Okay. So I think Councilwoman Rigby brought up a good point, which was we're going to have applicants asking for a range of, we want to operate 7 days a week from 9 in the morning until midnight, which obviously that's not going to work in most cases. And by having it set up the way it is now, only the applicant can appeal on a denial. So if a permit is approved allowing some hours that fall outside the range of what new businesses that move into the business park, some of the adjacent tenants move out of the area, new ones move in, you know, there's no mechanism for them to complain about noise violations because we're exempting the business from the noise ordinance. So what I want to see is the exemption of section 8.32.010 of the noise ordinance, which is not the complicated applicable limit 1 hour average sound level for the decibel read, but purely it's a violation on its face. It's obvious that they're out of compliance with the noise ordinance. Let's add that section back in and make sure to correct that subsection D references the actual operating standards as well. But otherwise, I think this is a good step forward with those two changes of changing the appeals process and making sure that we don't exempt just a blanket exemption from off-site noise restrictions.
Councilman Rigby.
That was the question I couldn't remember and couldn't read my shorthand, was on the appeals process for tenants. Because I agree, we've always been able to have the public comment when we've approved them here. And I think that they also need to have an opportunity to voice their opinion on it if it's granted and they don't like it or whatever. But I understand, and with these three, they got permission from all the tenants around them. Was that just next door? How far out was permission received for that? Do you know?
It was next door, the adjacent properties or the adjacent suites for those. And part of the issue is going to the property owners as well as the tenants is that hopefully we would head off any issues. And if a tenant disagreed and they didn't want to sign the application form, then that would be noted as well, and so that'd be taken into consideration.
And is there a threshold? I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, from a practical point of view, anytime that we've had a complaint from anyone on a cabaret license, our staff has done a really good job of working directly with the cabaret license holder to address the issue, make sure it's taken care of. It's not necessarily a threat, but the concern about not getting their permit renewed, because it's an annual renewal and it will remain that way, has always been very forefront in their minds, and we've been able to mitigate all of those issues. So if we heard about, even if there wasn't a formal appeal process in the thing, anytime we hear about it, we address it. We don't just say, oh, sorry, there's no option in the code. We really want to work to make sure that all of our businesses are working well together.
My question was, would it be case by case, or is there a starting point looking at a threshold of tenants that might not be in agreement? So if you're looking at giving notice next door, you have next door on the right and you have next door on the left and you have across the street and maybe behind you, but you could be affecting other areas. Or what if the guy on the right says no and the guy on the left says yes? Is there a point where you tell the applicant, we're not sure this is going to work in this area for you? I mean, or is that just strictly going to be done case by case?
My recommendation would be for it to be case by case, because someone who's in the downtown, we may want to look at 4 down and across the street. Prohibition, way out, someone on East Vista Way would have a different set of needs. Another location, Cambridge, it backs up to a mobile home park. So there's a completely different set of needs in terms of who you may be impacting. So we would make the recommendation to keep it on a case by case basis, understanding that the piece of the neighborhood in terms of what's appropriate for what types of locations is the most important.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Coles?
Thank you. I don't get a lot of calls on people who complain about this issue. Maybe I'm just in the wrong neighborhood, but I am glad that you're updating this, and the discussion has brought a couple of questions to my mind, and the appeal process, of course, is one. If an adjacent tenant wanted to appeal an approval that was made, or a surrounding neighbor, there doesn't seem to be a provision for that. Would it be appropriate to have a provision for that, and would it be at the staff level as opposed to the council level? Maybe you could tell me, Darrell, what.
Well, we need to look at what we mean by an appeal. At the present time, there is no appeal once a permit is granted. Once it's granted by the city council, someone who is thereafter unhappy with that does not have any right of appeal. So in that sense, this process is parallel. I would anticipate, however, that because staff is requiring notification to the adjacencies, they have an opportunity to participate in the process of issuing the permit in the first place.
Right.
If it is thereafter granted, just as if it were granted by the city council itself, there would still be no appeal after the fact. The reality is that there are permit revocation provisions in here which are, I think, reasonably strong and serve both the nuisance and the noise issues directly. And of course, there is an entire process behind that, which staff can originate in addition to the renewal process, which presents another opportunity to evaluate the performance of the permit holder.
Okay, that the revocation comment answered my question about it. There is a safety valve if there are things that were unknown at the time of the permit approval process. And the issue of the Councilmember Campbell brought up a section that was removed. Is there a reason that was removed? First of all, I commend you on your explanation of the case-by-case basis. I think this is not a one-size-fits-all issue, because location is everything. And is that one of the reasons that the exemption was removed, because you want to be able to weigh the various locations and surrounding neighborhoods? Or
That's one of the main points, yes. The recommendation to take noise out of the just a blanket reference to portions of the noise ordinance and instead identify mitigating conditions has to do with the fact that it is difficult to enforce. The prima facie brings up a couple of issues. That is something that works very well when you're in a residential neighborhood and it's 2 in the morning and you're in your house and your house is vibrating because of the party next door. It's very clear. In a business kind of area where most of these permits are being held, 50 feet is from here to the back of the rugs, at the end of the chairs. It's not that far. And the other issue is a lot of these permits are being granted until maybe midnight, and our noise ordinance references 10 p.m. So the minute it's 10:01, so we either have to limit the time they can have their entertainment, or we need to make a modification in the noise ordinance to say something else. So those are kind of some of the reasons. We wanted to say, let's deal with it on the permit itself based on the requests you've made, the location you're in, and all the background, and rather than make it specific to the noise ordinance. So that's why we're making that recommendation.
Yeah, so we have the benefit of some surrounding cities with their own ordinances, and you've kind of looked at how this has worked for them and what they're using. Do they, is this similar to what maybe Carlsbad or Oceanside or San Marcos has, or what?
I would defer to our assistant city attorney who did most of the legwork on that research, but we did review a number of the permits specifically in Carlsbad to come up with the basis of how this would work. They recently updated theirs as well.
Okay.
Yes, much of this ordinance is based on things that we've found to be useful in neighboring cities. And again, with respect to the noise ordinance, for the reasons explained, it doesn't work particularly well in a commercial area, and the permit revocation process is likely a much more effective method for dealing with it than trying to work with a generic noise ordinance in those specific cases.
Okay, thank you.
And I can't imagine if you're in a close place with your doors and windows shut that the noise can get too awful loud in there, that people would be complaining. So I think that would monitor itself, actually. So, and I just think, I don't know, with the monitoring equipment, we don't have monitoring equipment for decibels in the city, and I don't know if somebody called the sheriffs don't have decibel stuff that they walk around with. So I think it would be a very hard thing to monitor. So, Councilmember Cody Campbell, sorry.
So well, that's actually one of the questions I was going to ask and bring up, which is to the mayor's comment about the noise measuring equipment, the decibel meters. That was the one part about the prima facie requirement, that it didn't rely on any of that equipment for the actual violation to occur. And I think our assistant city manager is correct that in some cases in the commercial areas, the 50-foot rule is perhaps a little low. And I think that's kind of what I'm getting at, is maybe there's a way we can put a generic section regarding noise of off-site noise. We're not talking about if they keep their windows and doors closed, how loud it is inside, but we're talking about the noise that's emanated off of their property 3 or 4 businesses down. And what I'd like to know is how other cities like Carlsbad, San Marcos, the city of San Diego deals with their live entertainment permitting processes. With those permits, do they exempt those businesses from noise that emanates off the premises?
I don't know the answer to that.
Does anybody?
Most of the entertainment ordinances that we looked at for the surrounding jurisdictions do base their noise standards on a decibel level. We chose to go the opposite direction of that for the reasons that were stated, because it's very difficult to enforce. The prima facie issue is still a reasonable way of addressing noise problems, but as Ms. Zimmerman pointed out, in a commercial area, it has its, we have our concerns about that. We felt that by providing the city manager the discretion to review the permit or revoke it if there were problems from the neighboring properties, that would provide the opportunity for the process that I think the council is looking for, and that's what we're recommending. If the council would like to see an appeal process that gives the neighboring property owner the ability to bring it straight back to the council, then we would have to revise the ordinance and probably bring it back at a future date.
So maybe one of the things that I think we're talking about prima facie versus decibel level. Could our city attorney maybe just briefly describe to the council the difference between those two mechanisms? What I'm asking for in terms of a modified prima facie noise violation for the live entertainment permit versus just our standard 50-foot rule. We could come up with something for commercial zones, which is a little bit more reasonable, perhaps, than just the 50-foot.
Well, our existing prima facie rule does look to something that's audible 50 feet from the building. And so I assume that the prima facie rule that you might be thinking about is the one which causes the average reasonable person to be annoyed.
Right.
And while that is certainly a possibility, the average reasonable person is somewhat of a legal myth, as you know. And again, it's a very subjective standard, which, however, again, is thoroughly addressable through the permit revocation and renewal process, because anyone who is offended on a regular basis, on a prima facie basis, has the ability to come to the city, complain, and cause the permit to be reviewed internally to see if there is a noise issue. And it just, to staff, seemed better to keep the process for this particular type of permit self-contained within its ordinance and not attempt to layer on yet another city ordinance.
I want to add one thing, if I could, to what the city attorney said, and that is in the process that we've set up, there is a provision that if the city manager requests that the applicant has to prepare an acoustical study or sound study to evaluate the noise impacts of their use by a professional consultant, that would be part of their reapplication process if they were to be revoked. And that is where, if there were true noise issues with respect to neighboring properties, the windows, the doors, the openings in the building, whatever it may be that could be causing the problem, we would be able to take a close look and evaluate the decibel level, and the true impact off-site. That's really the hook that we tried to include to make sure that if there are noise problems, we have a technical ability to address it.
Oh, Deputy Mayor Aguilera, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I think I'm hearing what I want to hear, and that is there is some sort of an appeals process. So in other words, if the business on the left and the business on the right go ahead and approve and say, hey, this sounds okay to me, but then 6 months down the road they're like, oh, this isn't working out the way we thought it would. It's a lot louder than it should be, or than what we thought it would be. Would they be able to, at that point, come back to the city and say, hey, we've got a problem with these guys. They're a lot louder than they said they would be. They're, they got their doors, their windows, everything closed, but it's loud. Is there a process where these people could appeal that?
The formality of the appeal would happen through the annual permit, or if there were calls for service or a number of things that initiated an earlier revocation. However, our current practice and our continued practice would be, if we receive complaints, we will investigate the complaints, work with the permit holder to mitigate or address any of those complaints before they become a big enough issue where the permit would be revoked. A lot of times, and we see this a lot in code enforcement with just general noise complaints, neighbor to neighbor, people just don't talk to each other, and they use the city as kind of that middleman to help bridge that gap, and we'll continue to do that, yes.
So there's an annual process? Okay, because the other part of this is I would hate to see the city and staff and us to be used as a tool between two different business owners who aren't getting along to get back at each other somehow. And I think we need to be careful of that through this appeals process. Is I think that we're going to be used as the go-between for two people that can't talk to each other and get along and be reasonable. So I would hesitate to change anything that staff has recommended.
Or even a disgruntled person, person that went there. Maybe they,
right. Well, it's just, you've got people just using the law or the ordinance in this case to get back at another business. So I'm in favor of this. I move that we support staff and let me see.
Your staff recommendation?
Yeah, go with staff recommendation, amending Chapter 5.24 of the Vista Municipal Code concerning the establishments offering live entertainment, and amending Vista Municipal Code, Section 8.32.040 concerning noise control, and making some of the changes that have been pointed out by my fellow council members that need to be fixed.
I'll second that. And
okay.
May I also comment?
Yes.
I just wanted to say thank you, because the two concerns I had were the ability of people to come and talk about whether they were unhappy, as they have always been able to come here in public comment or during the public hearing or discussion. And I don't necessarily need it to be appealed to City Council, as long as they have a forum that they can go to and discuss it, and you're saying that that's a given and that they can and that you'll listen. So as long as that avenue is there for people, I'm good with that. And then the noise, like you said, would be addressed through the annual renewal process if there had been complaints, and they would be required, mandated to have a noise audit. I don't know what you call that. I would hope that if somebody were to get a permit and everybody agreed to it, and then they weren't doing what they agreed to do, and it became a real issue, we wouldn't wait like a year. It would be addressed immediately. So I'm good with what you've put in, and I thank you for your time in explaining this to us.
Okay, I don't see any further discussions, so I guess I would ask you to cast your votes. Motion passes with one voting no. Okay, moving on to our public hearings. Our public hearing number 1 is the Central Vista Business Improvement District, the CVBID public hearing. I'll open the public hearing, and looks like Kevin Hem is going to take that.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. On February 25th, 2014, the City Council approved the Central Vista Business Improvement District Annual Report for fiscal year 2014-15, and adopted a resolution declaring the city's intent to levy assessments for the CVBID. By law, this public hearing has been scheduled for the consideration of the proposed assessments, which represent no fee increases or boundary changes for the upcoming year. At this public hearing, the City Council will consider all protests against the assessments. If protests from business owners within the district who will pay 50% or more of the proposed assessments are received, then no further proceeding for the levy assessments will be taken for a period of 1 year. If no majority protest exists, the levy of the proposed assessments may be approved through the adoption of the resolution of confirmation, which is Exhibit 1. There is no direct fiscal impact associated with a staff recommendation to adopt the resolution of confirmation. If council approves of this item, a 1-year agreement with the contractor awardee of the RFP that is out currently will be brought back to the council for approval at a future meeting. That concludes my presentation.
Okay, we don't have any public speakers, so if I don't see any comments, I would look for a motion.
I'll move that we approve the Central Vista Business Improvement District staff's recommendation.
And close the public hearing.
And close the public hearing. Yes.
Do I have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. That motion passes unanimously. We have one other public hearing. Public hearing number 2 is the amendment to development code regarding the minor use permits.
Thank you, Mayor.
John Conley is taking this one.
This is an amendment to the development code regarding minor use permits, Chapter 1866. This is in response to council direction that we received back in November of last year with regard to alcohol sales for on-site consumption. The city previously applied conditions to new ABC licenses that do not require special use permit through a protest process, where the staff would send conditions to the ABC that were city conditions to be included on licenses where we weren't otherwise requiring a use permit or having any kind of city discretion. These are for mostly on-site sale locations. The ABC's changed policy recently and no longer offers the opportunity to include conditions that they don't enforce, and so the City Council, based on that, requested that the staff bring back a process wherein we could impose our own conditions on these types of licenses. So the staff is recommending a new streamlined minor use permit process where we could impose conditions on these businesses where particularly it's on-site sales. This would require amending the Development Code, Chapter 1866. The application for a streamlined MUP would be heard through our zoning administrator and would require a proposed fee of $165. Would essentially be approved if the following conditions are met, and that is if the use is permitted within the zone that it's located in, if the ABC license has been secured, and if the applicant accepts our standard conditions. If it's denied, the applicant can request an appeal, which is re-reviewed by the zoning administrator, and then the decision is final. So there is no appealable or appeal opportunity beyond that in this current process. If all the conditions precedent to this MUP process are not met, the applicant may apply for a regular minor use permit. This is not the streamlined process. This is our regular process wherein the fee of $2,036 applies, and there's a notice public hearing at the zoning administrator level, which is appealable to the Planning Commission and then to the City Council. So the process is set up that the zoning administrator or through the administrative level, if the applicant is agreeable to all of the conditions, would be approved, could be re-reviewed if they had issues with any specific conditions, but then the decision is final. If that doesn't work, then they have the opportunity to go through the notice public hearing process and appeal to the Commission and the Council. The Planning Commission reviewed the staff report for this change. Because it's a change to our development code, it requires a formal recommendation by the Commission. It was reviewed on March 4th of this year. They recommended approval of the staff recommendation with a vote of 5-1. The one commissioner that opposed did not agree with the recommendation of the Commission to remove the happy hour condition for restaurants or restaurants with bars, which was the Commission's recommendation, that we review our standard conditions to remove that happy hour restriction for restaurants. And with that, staff is recommending approval of an amendment to the Development Code, Chapter 1866, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
We have 2 speakers, so do you want to hear the speakers first? Okay, the first is John Byram. Hi, John.
Coastal Prevention Coalition, and we work to reduce the problems caused by alcohol and other drugs in the cities of Vista, Oceanside, and Carlsbad. California Alcohol Beverage Control does their best to regulate alcohol licenses in the state of California, but they are understaffed and need help from the local governments to set standards for their communities. Cities that set standards send a consistent message on responsible alcohol service to new alcohol licenses. Beginning in their first meetings and culminating in documenting conditions, we will have fewer problems. Good alcohol practices and policies should be set by local government. This is not about density or high crime, but without good practices and policies, you end up with high crime and problems like overservice of alcohol. The City of Vista has shown leadership with their responsible beverage service ordinance, and I see this ordinance as the next step in creating a smart, sensible policies that make the city of Vista a safe and thriving community. Thank you.
Thank you. Nanette Stam.
Hi, good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. My name is Nanette Stam, and I'm a board member of the North Coastal Prevention Coalition, as well as the director of the Health Promotion Center at Vista Community Clinic. And first of all, I want to thank you for considering this amendment to the Development Code regarding minor use permits. Cities all over the state of California are exercising their right as local governments to have control regarding alcohol licenses. This ordinance also supports Vista's general plan, specifically Healthy Vista Element 1.11, which says to strive to reduce problems associated with alcohol and drug abuse when developing or altering programs, policies, and practices. And the Healthy Vista Element is a new section of the general plan and was included in part because there is a new urgency to involve all levels of government in promoting improved public health. This ordinance gives the City of Vista the ability to set minimum standards for future microbreweries and restaurants with on-site alcohol sales, which account for approximately 80% of state ABC licenses in the City of Vista. Thank you for your consideration.
I think I have one more speaker coming across here. Cliff Kaiser.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. It just seems to me that we've already got state ordinances in place to regulate alcohol within our jurisdiction, and we're adding another piece of bureaucracy and expense to businesses that is not going to necessarily service the good of our community, is my opinion.
Thank you for your opinion. Okay, that's all of our speakers. So anybody want to say anything? If not, I look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing and adopt this.
Second.
I'll second it.
Okay. See no discussion. Please cast your votes. That motion passes with one no vote. Okay. So moving on. I don't see, we have no more oral communications. So then that takes us to our remarks. So who would like to start tonight? Should we start with Councilmember Rigby?
Sure. Thank you very much. And again, as always, I want to say thank you to city staff. You do a really terrific job for all of us, not just us on the council, but for the entire city. So thank you. And for being so responsive to our many questions for me particularly. I appreciate that. And I thank everybody who's still here. And I want to say thank you to Ms. Vista Helen and Ms. Teen Vista Maggie. They've been with the city, representing the city since May of last year. And I think they've done a great job. We see them at all kinds of different events and meetings and serving food and helping with the kids. And they've done a lot for the community. And I just want to say I'm proud of both of them. And thank you for the invitation to the pageant this year. And I don't have anything really else to say. It's a great city we live in, and I'm just having a great time.
Great. Councilmember Coles.
Aren't we all? Yeah, the only comment, several comments, it was great to be with all of us at the Meet the Leaders dinner that the Chamber sponsored last week. It was great to see that we have leadership in the county and the nation there to listen to us and speak to us directly about issues that we need to be aware of. I'm sure that several others in the room are anticipating tomorrow night's Aztecs basketball game. See if they can. Have they ever gone?
At Michigan State on Friday night.
Have they, Patrick? You can tell me. Has San Diego State ever gotten to the Elite Eight or?
No. Win tomorrow on Thursday night will be the first time.
Is Sweet 16? Have they been there before?
Sweet 16 a few years ago. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well. Okay. Go Aztecs.
Okay. Councilmember Campbell.
No comments this evening.
Deputy Mayor Aguilera.
Ditto.
Ditto? Okay. The only thing I have to say, well, one thing we did do this weekend, we took a tour with North County Transit. John and I did. It was interesting. We took the Sprinter to Escondido, then we took the bus to out to Camp Pendleton, then we got on the coaster and went down to Solana Beach, And then the train broke down. So then we had to wait for a long time.
That's why I had no comment.
What's wrong with North County Transit? Anyway, then we took the bus back home again. So but it was interesting to see all the things that go on behind the scenes. We saw what the problem with the rotors and the wheels were with the Sprinter, and they showed us the rotors and the wheels, and the engines were way up in the air, and we got to look underneath everything, and it was just interesting to see all that goes on with them. So,
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
I do want to say something, I guess, and that is on that tour that we had. It was very interesting because they did show us, like the mayor was saying, the rotors, and to actually see the parts that broke and held that thing up, and they explained exactly why it took so long. And after that tour, it did make a lot of sense, and I was happy that they went through that. And as embarrassing as it was for the people that had to deal with it, they did an excellent job in explaining the issues and how they're going to prevent it in the future.
and it's a unique train. There's no other ones in the United States like it, so they didn't expect to have this problem. So, anyway, but it's all solved now, and everything is good. So. Now, let's see my announcements. Alta Vista Gardens is celebrating Earth Day on Saturday, April the 12th, with an Earth Day festival in their gardens at Brengle Terrace Park. The event runs from 10 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon, and there will be kids' workshops, activities, and games, eco vendors, artists, a food court, and guest speakers. And it's free and open to the public. And if you've never been there and your kids have never been there, you should take them up there. It's very fun. They have a great kids' garden up there, and it's just a fun place. They have a great event. Our Vista Leadership Academy students are going to graduate from their 7-week course tomorrow evening. We have 21 residents who will be graduating, and we applaud them for their commitment to learning more about their community and how to get more involved in their community. So that's kind of exciting tomorrow night to see them graduate. And one other thing, the Princess Project will be sponsoring a free prom dress giveaway on Saturday, April the 5th. That's a week from the Saturday, from 10 to 4 at the Vista Library. Gently worn dresses are available for free to students that cannot afford to buy one. So register or learn more about donating online at theprincessproject.com. So that's all of mine. Now, the city manager, do you have some announcements?
Yeah, just one announcement. We'll be providing a budget overview for you for the 2014-15 budget, and that'll be on April 8th as a discussion item at the council meeting. And I echo what Councilman Cole said, and that is go Aztecs, and we'll be rooting them on Thursday night.
Okay, who are they playing, do you know?
Yeah, they're playing Arizona.
U of A? Oh, dear, my daughter went to U.
That's a tough
Tara, my daughter went to U of A, so it's going to be an interesting game. Yes, okay.
Say, in my house, my husband's a U of A alumni, so
you do?
it's going to be a tough night for me.
Okay. Daryl, do you have anything? Our city attorney? Daryl
Go
Piper?
Aztecs.
Go Aztecs, okay. And Marcy, you want to say go anybody?
Happy birthday, Charlie.
Okay. And down there at the other end? Amanda, yeah. I always think I got Amanda on one end, Amanda on the other end.
Go Amanda. But no, also go, I'm an Aztec alum as well, and Patrick knows that, so go Aztecs.
But Michigan State's going to be number one, so because Obama said. Okay, with that, this meeting is adjourned at 7:16.
I appreciate